Town Band Banter with Doc and Dave. Every week, two longtime friends and colleagues in the world of music, David Price and Donald Doc Smith, get together to discuss the triumphs as well as the twists and turns of lifelong learning for the dedicated members of thousands of civilian community music ensembles of every shape and size. Your comments and suggestions are always welcomed through email as info@townbandbanter.com, Facebook, Town Band Banter, and Instagram, #TownBandBanter. And now for our hosts, Doc and Dave.
All right, Dave, here we go. Episode 8, second season.
Wow. And we're all chummy here.
We are,
Oh
yeah.
my gosh. Thank God I took a shower.
Yeah, nice and close together, even though our guest is speaking to us from the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, and it's Dr. Steve Grugin. How
I
you
didn't think
doing?
there was anybody up there, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
Really? Amazing.
Yeah.
And you actually lived there.
Way fewer than in Detroit, but
That's for sure.
it's a great place to live.
There are a lot more deer there than in Detroit.
You got that right.
Yeah, and it's raining here. What's it doing there?
It warmed up yesterday. I believe it was
did
in
it?
the 30s.
Oh my
Ooh,
gosh! Wow, but there's a little bit of snow predicted. But
There's
a
some
day-
snow, and it'll get cold again.
a day that the snow is not predicted after September in northern Michigan is
Right.
unusual.
Yeah.
And it's not, you come here when it snows, people freak out. There, it's like, oh, it was only a foot. It's no big
Right.
deal. Yeah.
So
Welcome-
this is the
welcome,
Upper
Steve
Peninsula.
Grugin.
Well, thank you. This is the Upper Peninsula of Michigan, which you got to cross a bridge before you can get to it.
Oh, good
Unless you
Lord.
come up through Wisconsin, now you can do it that way too.
It's more connected to Wisconsin than Michigan.
It's
And
that
was
part
hap-
that looks like it ought to be Wisconsin. It's right on Lake Superior too, so we love it up here.
There was a little bit of a rumor that there was a lost bat in the card game or something like that, and that's how Michigan ended up with it. I'm not sure how that that worked out, but
It
it's
was
you're right. It's more
was
connected to
lost, yeah.
Wisconsin.
Yeah,
So-
basically, Michigan got the UP, and Ohio got the Toledo Strip. Is the short story. So I
there's-
feel like Michigan won out on that one.
Yeah, I think they probably did. And then
Yeah.
it turned out that the treasurer for the state of Michigan was from the UP, and that's what set off the bridge. And he
Well, I don't-
funded that. And then the
Yeah.
last thing that he's funded was the Superior Dome
Cool. Yeah.
at
Right.
Northern Michigan University, right on Lake Superior. And I got to open that, and you get to use it. And do you still rehearse on Thursday nights there?
Thursday nights and Saturday mornings.
And that was a huge argument right when it opened. And he said, Don, don't worry about the schedule for this year because we'll adjust that as we go. Had I not gone to war with that and said, I need that Thursday night, 2.5 hours, and then Saturday mornings, it probably wouldn't be that way now. So that
Yeah.
I was glad I went to war, and you ruffle some feathers along the way, but make good things happen, and then it's worth it. So then,
When we get those late September and early October snowfalls, it's a good thing that we have that Thursday night indoors.
oh
So
my
thank
gosh.
you for that.
But it was not only that, the games, when I was never colder in my whole life, during games that it'd be like 40 degrees with a driving wind and rain off of the lake. And there's nothing colder than that. It could be like 0 outside, but it just goes right through you. And it would be the two football teams, the referees, the band, our band, a couple cheerleaders, a few parents, and 2 drunken fraternity guys at the end of the field with a bell in case the team scored, and they would
Right.
ring the bell, and
Yeah.
that would be all there was for. And that's where I came up with foul weather friends. Like fair weather friends, everyone has those, but foul weather friends are the ones you really want, and those were the only ones showing up for that game. So to clarify our history is that my first director of bands job was at Northern Michigan University,
Mhm.
and it was from 1990 to 1994. I was
Right.
there for 4 years. I was the 6th director in 10 years.
Right.
So
Oh,
it was a revolving door like crazy going on there. And I arrived, and again, like the band here, is about in the 50s, and I left. It was in the mid 90s.
Yeah.
And then there was someone, I didn't know this until I came up for Alumni Band. I'm so glad that I drove up for that last year. and discovered that I didn't know there was someone hired between you and I. I thought it just went directly to you. It would have been much better off, I guess, had that happened.
Oh, I don't know. We
things
can say
things were
that.
things were running really well. But no, you said the band was back down in the 60s, was low, right?
Oh, it was 38. Yeah,
Oh
right
my
when I
gosh, yeah.
started.
So it went from 90, 94 or whatever the exact number was down to 38 in that 1 year. And then fortunately you found the folks walking around campus who had been playing, so it was hopefully a little bit easier for you to get it back up and running, but egads, but it had been in the 50s or below for 20 years when I arrived. And so you've done an outstanding job of building it. I mean, the band, when it went up, there was 145, and the alumni band was incredible at 180.
Oh,
So,
yeah,
but
it was. Yeah.
that's our connection. But why don't you do a little bit of your past? The other thing we'll get done with the upfront is that I'm Penn State, you're Ohio State. Congratulations on winning the national championship. They certainly deserved it this year. It's a wonderful team, and both bands are outstanding. Both bands are really, really good, and I enjoy watching both of them. So we'll get that off, and maybe you could tell us a little bit about your background, how you got to this stage.
Sure. Well, you mentioned I'm an Ohio State grad, but my master's was at Northwestern in Evanston and Florida State for my doctorate.
Oh, okay.
But along those ways, I was a high school band director in Oxford, Ohio for 4 years. Ended up, my first college job was at Western Kentucky University. And then I spent a year in Texas too at Stephen F. Austin.
Oh, wow. That's a great program.
You might not know this, but before coming up here to Northern Michigan, I was at Western Michigan for 6 years.
I didn't know that. No, I didn't know that. So you worked your way all the way up the hand to here to
right. That's the way it felt too, because I grew up in Kentucky, Frankfort, Kentucky, and then first move was to Columbus, Ohio. And boy, I thought that was north,
Yeah, right.
And then all of a sudden, I'm in Kalamazoo, Michigan. Well, man, I'll never go more. This is the farthest north I'll ever get. Right now, I'm on the northern edge of the country. It feels like. Yeah. So, but that's okay.
And then you get to the bridge and think, well, I must be there, but it's still another 100 or so, over 100
it's 3 hours, 3 hours from the bridge.
Solid 3 hours.
No positions in Canada you could jump in on? What's up with that?
It's kind of funny. People will say, well, I bet you can see Canada from where you live, right?
Yeah, right.
Well, other than the fact that we have the largest, freshwater lake in the world, Lake Superior.
There, yeah, I know.
Well, almost connected with the Sault Ste. Marie. Did you ever get over to that side of the UP?
Yeah, we've been over there. Sure.
There's some really cool stuff over that way. So that's fantastic, and congratulations on your success. I was blown away when I came up to see the band. Everything,
thanks.
Things running well. Who replaced you?
His name's Dr. Stephen Riley.
Cool.
His background is Illinois and Wisconsin, and I'm blanking right now, but I'll come up with it.
So another
Iowa.
Big Ten guy,
Big
Iowa.
10.
Oh, that's cool. Yeah. Well, that's good. I'll be anxious to see how he does, and certainly do anything I can to help him as well. That's great. And you're staying there. You're continuing on doing the alumni band and teaching
and the low brass for one more year.
Oh, for one more year. Okay, good. And then they're going to hire someone. What is that position? The low brass position?
It's trombone, baritone, and tuba. It'll be following next year. Hopefully, they'll do another full-time position with it.
Oh, that would be fantastic. Yeah, that'd be great. There was David Stevenson when I was there, an older fella. Right. So it was passed. All right. So we really wanted to talk about, this is all about community bands. So let's talk about this. I think it was just one summer I conducted the Marquette City Band. Is that the correct name?
Yeah, Marquette City Band.
Marquette City Band out on Presque Isle in that bandshell that was condemned last year. And I did drive out there to take a look at it, and I agree it should be condemned. It was really
well. They like to call it decommissioned. It just has a more pleasant tone.
Right? Isn't it nicer? Yeah, somehow.
But I tease everyone. When I first got it, the uniforms were wool, and it's only a summer band, but it's right on Lake Superior out on Presque Isle, which is more a peninsula that juts out. Right? It's right out into the. It's not really an island, and the weather when that sun goes down, wool uniforms are good to have. Yeah, it works out well, but it's a lovely setting. It's a beautiful, beautiful setting right on the
It
lake.
is.
How long have you been
And
doing
Presque Isle. Go ahead, Dave.
No, I was just going to ask you, how long have you been doing the community band, the
Full time
Marquette?
since 2012.
Oh, it's in 2012. Yeah.
Right. Yeah. So I really enjoy that.
Yeah.
You were talking about Presque Isle. I believe I understand it. Presque Isle actually means almost an island. So there's a little way you can get out to it by driving, but then the rest of it is surrounded by water. Yeah, it's a city park. It's a pretty large area. I don't know how many square miles, but and there are cliffs. There's what they call the Black Rocks, which is really volcanic rock, and you can go out and see the kids jumping into the water out there. And of course, the woods and the deer and the albino deer here and there that you can find. So
and blue ice. I had never seen blue ice. That's where I first saw that out in Presque Isle. This time of year when the ice breaks up for some reason.
Right.
There's a blue color to it.
So you mentioned that we have a summer season. We give 6 concerts in our summer series, and then we'll also play for the veterans at the veterans home that we have here in Marquette. And we'll occasionally run out and do a concert in some other place.
Is it all summer, or do you do some during the year as well?
Yeah, you might remember it as being one concert every week.
Right, it was.
Yeah, no, but we've gone to doing every couple of weeks now. So, I feel like we can do better, more sophisticated literature and do a better job, really. And so.
Yeah, we do a rehearsal sometime earlier in the week for that concert each week, and then change the literature over. And what I find for a lot of bands is you end up playing a lot of the same. If you play a lot of the same music, you can prepare it a little bit quicker. But if you want to do new things, then you do need more time. That's for sure. So how many rehearsals do you do for each concert?
Well, generally about 2. We have the Tuesday night rehearsals. Now, what else is different since when you were here is that we also give a concert in the winter and also in the spring. So we have our February concert coming up on February 16th. Cool. And then we have a winter concert planned. That one will be April.
Right.
Nice.
So our February concert this year, we're calling it Celebrating Winter Holidays.
Right.
And so we've got, Valentine's Day is coming up.
Right.
There was President's Day, and then there's the Martin Luther King. So we've got, some music by African-American composers, including Duke Ellington and Still and Owens. What's his first name? But he's written some really, really good pieces. Right. And so, and of course, we have some love songs for Valentine's Day, and we have a piece that's similar to Lincoln Portrait by Copeland. It's called With Malice Towards None, but it calls for a narrator, and it's a nice piece.
Who's doing your narration?
Well, asked me another couple over the weekend.
Okay. I'm open for that.
Yeah, I've got a couple of people.
I'm damn good at it.
2 people that could do it. That's for sure.
Yeah, that's right.
No, I have a couple of people in mind. Definitely.
How big is your community band? What are we talking about? Roughly runs about how many people?
Typically in a concert there'll be, I think we've got about 75 this time, but on our list we've got 120 on our active list. Right. So and we don't really encourage. Well, it's not that we don't encourage them, but we don't put a lot of pressure on the students performing at this time of the year because, the college students and the few high school students that'll play, they've got their own programs that they're busy with. So,
So how many adult players do you have? Like the folks that are always going to be there as opposed to the high school and some college and.
It's probably, 100 adults and 20 students.
Right. Okay. Mostly
like
adults.
That. Yeah, but I like the mix. Community bands are different. You can go to some bigger cities where the community band is mostly band directors and music majors and, music teachers. But, here we definitely have a community component that's people that just like playing. They didn't go into music in college, but they just wanted to continue, which I think is really one of the best things about community band. Right. Is just to give people a chance to continue, their passion in music.
Now, do you have a I'm sorry. Quick question. Do you have any sort of format for having people coming in join the band? Do auditions of any kind, or
Yeah,
how do you
we
handle that?
advertise. Yeah, we advertise for auditions, and then we'll ask them to do some sight reading and come in and prepare just a little short piece for
All
me
right.
to listen to,
Yeah.
and
All right.
I just ask them what scales they might know
Yeah. Yeah.
beyond the scale.
Thus,
The scale. Yeah.
That's kind of funny. You mentioned Don. You mentioned Band Day with the college program, and
right.
so we'll bring in. Well, you were talking about the alumni band, but we also have the Band Day,
Mm-hmm.
and we've got about probably 16 or so high school bands that'll regularly
Right.
be there, which is a good thing. But
Yeah.
I just always have a lot of fun just standing in front of them all for the first time and just kind of raising my arms and just saying, "Okay, everybody, let's play the scale." And I give
Yeah.
a downbeat, and guess what? They are all on the same note.
They're all the
Yeah,
same.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
for sure.
Good old B flat, the key we were born
Yeah.
in.
Well, the one I'll have to send you the video. I just ran into it again. The very first year the Superior Dome was open, everyone wanted to get in there. So that was the biggest band day that I had had. It was right
Yeah,
around 1,000,
yeah,
but we had no idea what it was going to sound like in there. They didn't, acquire an acoustical engineer,
yeah,
with musical background to design that place. So no one really knew. And until the field went in, until they put in the turf, the acoustics were terrible. It was like echoey, and they
right.
hadn't regulated the HVAC yet. There was like a 20-mile-an-hour breeze in there at some nights, so it was hard to say how it was going to go. And I did America the Beautiful, kind of like the Carmen Dragon, like with
Hmm.
the lighter version of that for marching band, and was able to stretch phrases and everything, because it was terrific. So I have to share that with you. But what an experience! Like no one knew what was going to happen walking in, and it turned out to be wonderful.
Right.
So yeah, Band Aid's terrific. And do you have 16 bands coming every year?
Oh, it varies, but the
Yeah.
last few years we've had, I think, 17 last year.
Yeah. That's fantastic. I mean,
Wow.
it's talking about recruiting, like in building and retaining. That's a huge angle to have. They just want to come.
Got a quick question for you. Always is a big item with all the people we interview, but in the bands. But funding. Now I know you're in the middle of raising money for a band shell, but the basic funding for your band. How do you deal with that? Where does your funding come from?
So this is a great story. In 1929, uh, there was a gentleman here in town by the last name Longyear. Might remember that name.
Hmm.
But he was a professional bassoonist. I believe he might have even played in the Boston Symphony. But he had been sent to a fight in World War One, and I believe that he was tear gassed. And when he came back after the war, he wasn't able to play.
Oh,
So he
wow.
came back to Marquette, his hometown, and wanted to have a band that had a stable funding situation, where he'd have a chance to play in something that, a group that could really develop into something. So he got permission to ask the city commission or council at the time, whatever they called it, if they could put a bond issue on the ballot. And he was granted permission to do that. And the citizens voted to fund the band.
Wow.
And we've been actually funded in part by the city of Marquette since 1930.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
And yeah, that's really a great thing. So we get funding from the city that basically is meant to help us with our summer concert series, Don, that you mentioned.
Hmm.
But we also apply for a Michigan State grant, arts grant. It's called the Michigan Arts and Culture Council.
Hmm.
And so we've gotten a good chunk of money from them. Along with that comes money from the National Endowment of the Arts,
Right.
which honestly we've been scared about over the last few days,
Uh-huh.
whether or not, that was going to continue. I guess, unfortunately, we're going to have to see about that.
Yeah.
But, and then we also have started the patronage program where we have individual donors, some foundations, and some businesses will contribute too. So
Uh-huh.
we have a pretty good source of funding. And our band members are paid a nominal fee for their efforts too.
Oh, they are. Okay,
Oh,
so
wow.
this is the second
Yeah.
band we've run into with that.
Yeah.
So what is it, every time they perform or?
Yeah, per service, per rehearsal,
Yeah.
and per concert, right?
Yeah.
It's not a whole lot, but it'll pay for the babysitter or for the gas money, or if
Mm.
they're traveling or whatever.
I play in a Westerly band. Westerly
Uh-huh.
has had a band forever,
Also in
since the
Rhode Island.
1800s.
Yeah,
And they still, they come up with some money for everybody for the performances. You get a check for like $10 or something like
right.
that, but
Yeah.
it's still something, and
And
they're
a lot
very
of people
proud of it.
donate it right back
Yeah,
into the
we
band.
all
Or,
pretty much donate it back.
That's exactly what happens here.
Yeah.
We offer them to donate back if they want. And you're right. It's not a whole lot of money, but it just kind of makes you feel good. And
Right. Absolutely.
well,
Yeah.
before we forget, let's talk about a whole lot of money. So let's give us an update on how this Bandshell project is going.
Right, the decommissioned Bandshell, which now we have a design for a new Bandshell, and it's fantastic.
Right.
So it'll be, a shell stage. It'll be off the ground about 30 inches. It'll be kind of like a half of a dome. Think of it that way.
Right.
And so that provides its own amplification, and there's a huge backstage area, back of the house area, which is going to have a loading dock and a storage, general storage, and City Band will have its own storage. There's a couple of dressing rooms and a bathroom. So it's
The
just
pictures that you sent me, I'm putting up
right.
right now. So
Okay.
yeah, they've
So
kind of
it'll be a
seen that.
wonderful design.
Yeah.
We're projecting the cost for it's going to be over $2 million, and so we've got a good start on that. We're up to, I think, 1,300,000 at this point. There was a very generous grant that we got from a foundation, the Ray and Peg Hervenen Foundation.
Right.
Donated money to help get us started. So we're in that process of raising money. We're finding that we're getting a lot of really great donations coming in from community members. Right now, we're starting to tackle the businesses and the foundations. We were on a little calendar timeline difficulty with when we got started with our fundraising effort. It was too late to really apply for a lot of the grants for 2024. So now we're starting in 2025 to do that.
Oh, hopefully, get a couple chunks, and those feel really good, as well as, anyone who might have been associated with the band who's no longer on the UP.
Right. So Don, you're going to give me your address, for example.
Absolutely.
And I'll send you the information.
You
You
already sent me that information. I already have it. Yeah. So
Okay.
I just have to run it by my financial boss, which is my wife, of course. Yes. But
Okay.
So you have roughly how much more to raise?
About 800,000 more. So, and that sounds like a lot, but
Should I write the check out to you personally, or?
I'm glad you asked.
Yes.
Actually,
we'll have all that. We'll put it in the description.
Right. You're able to donate by sending a check through the mail. We also have the ability for people to donate through PayPal. But the really cool thing that we've just gotten started is that we have a brokerage account now, and people who need to be making for example, their minimum retirement distributions can just simply transfer stocks to us. And then that means it's kind of a double tax benefit, because the people that transfer their stocks don't have to pay income tax on their capital gains. And us as a nonprofit, we don't have to pay tax on that income either.
Yay.
So that enables us probably to get some more money from the people that are able to do that.
Wow, that's fantastic. And do you have sort of a time frame, or is it's wide open at this point for construction and all of that?
And as I understand it, if they haven't gone out already, they will be going out within the next few days. Invitations for the contractors to bid on the project.
Right.
And
okay.
So that's when we'll get a better estimate of what the actual cost is going to be. Plus, the contractors will have a schedule in mind for the summer for when they're going to start the construction process.
Right. Is the town involved in that? Who's managing that process?
The city of Marquette, right?
That's what I thought. Okay.
Yeah, it falls under the community services department, which is under that is Park and Rec and Art and Culture and those sorts of things. And eventually you get down to the city band, and we're part of the city. I really think it's cool that when we go to pick up the mail for the Marquette City Band, we go to City Hall. There's our mailbox right there. It's City Hall.
Yeah.
Well, and
we don't have a key to the mailroom, but
1929 or whatever it was, 1930.
One thing at a time.
Yeah.
Well, we're finding out with a lot of the bands how old they are, like some have been around for a long time.
I mentioned that funding started in 1930, but actually our band started in 1886 7
Yeah, I
performing.
knew it ranged back there, and I had a couple people that were into the history. Hal Wright, I need to mention, was very influential in the band at that point. He was a professor, wonderful clarinet player. You know, has since passed, but he was a great guy and kept things going musically and was a great bridge from some of those some of the things turn of the century up to when out there.
And one of our predecessors, Gerald Michelson,
Okay.
actually wrote his dissertation on community music in Marquette, Michigan.
Right.
You know, in the early part of the 1900s.
I think
he didn't do it in the early part of the 1900s. I think it was in the 70s where he wrote his dissertation. But
with that revolving door of the 6 directors in 10 years, and it was. In fact, there was one day, I don't know if I told you about this, Steve, that I got exactly 7 pieces of mail in my box in the music office, and not one of them had the same name twice, and my name wasn't on any of them, and it was the previous 7 directors. 1 piece of mail each for each one of them. Wow. It was just like, oh, that's crazy. But we
well, I like the ones that come in and they just say current band director. I mean, that works.
That probably works well. But one of them was Tim Lutzenheiser,
right?
From way back when, and he and I used to have a drink at when the Midwest Clinic was in Chicago, right downtown in the Hilton. There was Kitty O'Shea's was the pub there. And at 5 o'clock,
he remembers the name of the pub.
5 o'clock on Fridays during that, it just became a tradition to go there, and we'd end up with like half a dozen of former directors of Northern Michigan University there. Right. So we Tim managed to get it on the program one year that there, maybe it continued, I don't know. The NMU BDAA, the Northern Michigan University Band Directors Alumni Association.
The Band Directors Alumni.
We'll be meeting at Kitty O'Shea's at 5 o'clock during the Midwest, and to develop from there. So you are the newest member.
Okay.
Which I think
an honor. It only took me 27 years to get here.
Well, you have to buy the first round, of course. You know, but that's terrific.
So, and Cody Birdwell at the University of Kentucky is another one of our former directors here.
Sure. Oh, and he's at University of Kentucky now. Okay, that's cool. Wow. A lot of my staff came from K-State for some reason. Dan Lindblom and Dave Dejanov. I think they might have crossed over a little bit. I don't know whether they were still around when you arrived. But I think Dan was doing percussion for a while for you. Well, that's great. So we asked, I think we've kind of covered all of that with the bands, but then we usually close by asking all our guests the same 3 questions. So we thought we'd run that by you too. What was your most memorable experience with a community music ensemble?
So my only really community band has been the Marquette City Band.
Oh, wow.
In 2017, we took the band to Finland.
Wow.
And we did a 5-city concert tour. The reason we went to Finland in 2017 was that was the year where Finland was celebrating its centennial of its independence from Russia.
Oh, wow.
And we in Marquette, Michigan, we have a sister city in Finland, Kajaani, Finland. And so we wanted to visit our sister city, be a part of that celebration. We gave a concert there. And also in Helsinki and Turku and, a couple of the other, we performed at the Lieksa, the famous brass festival there in Lieksa. So that's probably going to be my biggest, most lasting memory of a bunch of really cool things that we've done.
Yeah, and the Finnish culture in that part of the region is very, very powerful. I mean, that's probably that dominates, the food and everything else. Yeah. So that's great. Yeah. What was it? How did participating in a community band affect you? Like as it, maybe go back to when we started it as you as a college director. Were you in community bands before that, or
not really? And I didn't have any idea that I would have this love and passion for community bands the way I do now.
Yeah,
I think it's transferred. Maybe what I feel about participating in band and in music, and I get to see that in the community musicians. I think I get the greatest satisfaction and love of doing it. Just seeing the enjoyment of the people that play in the band and also the people that listen to the band. And whereas they might not have had that chance without the community band.
Right. We're finding that as commonality, almost all of our guests. That's a strand that threads through all of this wonderful thing, community ensembles of all sorts. And then what last is the
Sure. Well,
future.
I'll
Yeah.
throw this one out. With things changing so much with AI and the way people get entertainment and entertain themselves, and how do you see community bands developing in the future? What is? Do you see anything good or bad in the future with this whole thing, the community band concept or community
Right.
ensembles?
Well, I think as long as we have strong school band programs, we should be able to have musicians that graduate, maybe go on to college, maybe they don't. Maybe they'll not play for 30 years and they'll come back and they'll say, hey, I used to play in band. Maybe I'm retired now. I've had some people have told me that. I've got 3 retired physicians in the band. And then an environmental researcher that plays trombone really well. And so they've gotten back into it. So I think the interest in live music, I think, is the thing that's going to hopefully continue. I don't think anything replaces live music, So for us to continue to be valid, I think we just need to make sure that we're programming music that people want to come and listen to. And that can be a variety of things. And what community band doesn't play, I think of it as sort of the Ed Sullivan approach to a show, where there's a little of that, a little of this, one kind of thing here, one kind of thing there.
Right.
And so,
Something to
just
offend everyone.
something for everybody. You got it.
Right.
Yeah.
No, I look at it the same way. Yeah, there needs to be a variety, for the players as well as the audience, particularly the players looking to maintain, and then be able to show off some of the players you do have in the group every once in a while. Do you soloists or a vocalist every once in a while, or
we do? One of the cool things that we've done for the last 2 years, the state of Michigan in the public school music programs. There's a state competition of solos and ensembles. It kind of gets up to where they used to perform at Western Michigan in Miller Auditorium, something called the Michigan Youth Arts Festival. They don't have that anymore, but they still have this competition. So I will find out about these musicians that do well there and invite them to be, and these are maybe high school juniors and high school seniors. Right. And I'll invite them to come up and be guest youth artists for one of our concerts in the summer. So that's, and they've loved doing that too. They have no idea, probably, I don't think the 2 that we've had so far had ever been up to the UP before.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Yeah.
And
That's exciting.
Yeah.
And then what do you bill it? Do you have them stay with members of the band or?
No, we've asked for a grant from a community foundation to do that usually. And so
fantastic.
It works out. Yeah.
What a great trip for folks. Well, that's good. Is that, I think we covered everything that I wanted to cover. Is there anything that we missed that you want to cover, Steve? We'll make sure we get all of that information for the Bandshell in the description so people can help contribute to that and also contact you in case they're interested in, anything else that you have.
That's right.
Just your school email is probably best, right?
Well, that brochure that you claim that I sent you.
Right. I have. Yes.
It'll be right there.
It's right there. I'll use that.
Yeah, it's not the school one, but it's
okay.
The different one. Yeah.
Fantastic. Well, we end all of our programs the same way. You can join it if you want.
Try anyway.
Yeah, just keep on playing.